in our day. It was a hell of a difference. Still good.
You just have to believe in it.
All right, there we go. There it is. Map ban. Let's see which map we're going to be playing on in this series. And 7 down, 6 down, 1 to go. Cafe Dostoyevsky. Wow. Oh. This is, you're taking Navi to Cafe, usually a map they're very comfortable on. This is,
this is where these two teams played on this map last time they played against each other. BDS beat Navi 7-5.
Yeah, close.
So, it was kind of close, but that was a different Navi, man.
Yeah, that was actually my favorite match of Stage 1, and it was the match where Navi failed to qualify for the major. That was the match that put VP above them, failing to beat BDS. Now, they've got another shot at it. It might not mean making the major. Of course, Navi is still playing catch-up, especially after such a bad season. Cafe is not their best map. They ban a bunch. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Navi were not expecting this map because BDS have banned it in the previous 2 Playdays, but BDS, like we've been saying, they might be trying to hide some of their strategies. They don't necessarily want to play their best maps. They want to save those for the upcoming major and finals. So maybe that does give Navi a chance here. If BDS are on less comfortable ground, maybe they can take it.
All right, very curious about this one. Let's toss it over to our casters. Game number 3 out of the 5 that we have in every EU League night, and it's just a chew. All yours on the cast. BDS versus Navi.
I'm still waiting for the day we get a I Choose You cast.
You did it again.
I've done it to you.
We were talking about this today.
I've done it to you. Stream could hear me. You just weren't important enough that you get to hear me, Jess, is the thing. Everyone else heard the wonderful line that I opened with.
What was it? Can I know?
He did a little bit. It was, I said, I'm waiting for the day that Milos throws to us and goes, Jessichu, I choose you. He hasn't done that yet.
Oh, that would have been good.
I'm still waiting for the day that comes. Now, look, I'm not about feeding jokes to Milos, but at some point, someone's going to have to step up and help him with his comedic writing, man. We'll be there for him. We're a team. We do this together. And speaking of teams, there are 2 of them taking to Cafe. The guy who spoke earlier on the desk, Jess, Gio also included, I should say. So guys and girls spoke around how this was one of the best games of last season. Now for Navi, I have very fond memories of them playing against G2 on this map and absolutely bullying them when it came around to the late stage executes. But BDS showed against Vitality they are not a team to get bullied no matter what kind of denial you bring against them, no matter what pressures you put against them, they will still roll their way through and close games out, or rounds and therefore games. Let's see if Navi can bring it the fight against them today as they start off on the attack. Thatcher, the first ban coming out of BDS.
Yeah, you spoke about that last game. What's really interesting is that Navi's quite a balanced team on Cafe. They're quite okay at defense. They're also quite okay at attack. So I'm actually really excited to see this. Last time they went head-to-head, Thatcher ban came out, but then a shield ban came out as well. No shield ban here today. No Monty thrown into the depths of the ban phase. They're just going to keep that one in play. And a Valkyrie will come out this time. And what? Will BDS follow up with a Wamai? I don't know, but I mean, that just generally is the trend.
It is a very BDS thing. They started out the Wamai banning around the world, and now they have continued it. I remember when they first banned it, people were like, have you noticed I started doing this? And I was like, oh, yeah. And now it's like every single team is banning it. Didn't we see earlier on 49% ban rate across both stages? The
Ridiculous.
Most banned defensive operator.
I don't want to say that BDS kicked that off, but it felt like they did because they were the first ones to sort of start bringing it out consistently. I'm sure other teams thought about it, but I think BDS were the ones that turned around and said, yeah, this is one of our mainstay bans. Here we go. And we're going to start downstairs. Do you think Navi are prepared for this? Do you think they're realizing it's going to start downstairs? I mean, you look back to their last game and the first one was actually, I believe, reading and dining. So, I mean, maybe they're prepared for everything.
I imagine you come in pretty prepared to receive anything in that first round. We've seen teams start off on reading, we've seen teams start off on the top floor, and now we're seeing a team start inside a kitchen. All 3 of those sites, it's a real gamble on where you start. It's kind of a story across all of Rainbow, though, to be honest with you. We see exactly the same thing coming out when we go to maps like Clubhouse. Some teams like to throw a spanner in the works and go towards gym and bedroom to start things off. Nothing too surprising here. It just means that Navi have got to start at the top and work their way down. I referenced earlier on Navi versus G2. Navi were excellent at playing these extended Brone games upstairs, really trying to slow G2 down. However, G2 did play behind a shield the whole time. I thought we'd see the same coming out of Navi. That evidently is not the plan here as they switched away from the Monty at the last second.
I believe he got that drone, which is why it was being highlighted there by Easy, our beautiful observer. Shout out to our observer, unsung heroes of our particular competitive esports scene. And round 1 kicks off here, and a lot of people are wondering, does Navi has have what it takes here to take this matchup, especially against an undefeated BDS. You gotta remember, they did draw last time, and that's okay. I mean, you're still undefeated. But for the most part, BDS, this is the time to strike big, because I guess they're on the back foot after having that draw.
I mean, the one thing they are trying to do here is take the fight straight to Navi, as you can see in their picks. Both of the denial coming out of the Kaid, probably picking that one up from Vitality in the incredible denial game they had against BDS on Clubhouse. And they're looking towards Shaiko on that Vigil, as well as the Mossy coming out for Rafal. The fact that it's Rafal playing it, I'm curious to know if he's looking to play this in their own style, though, or if it's more of the site player and being information for the rest of the team.
That's a really good pick up there, because Rafal is usually the kind of one that would play something like a Goyo or a Kaid or that flex support player. So now he's going more aggro, I would say, with that kind of operator pick. So that's really cool. Oh my god! Hello? I mean, I get it. Visual lines, he's nearby, but you don't think he's that nearby.
No, maybe you suspect he's at the bottom of white stairs rather than, you know, at the top of them, ready to swing on you the second he realizes where you might be droning from. Really good aggression coming out of Shaiko, because think about what that now does to Navi. They know that white stairs currently is completely a fog of war for them. They don't know what's going on around there. They know that Shaiko is lurking somewhere and need to deal with him if they're going to be able to assault downstairs successfully. Really good time wasting coming out of BDS, and they've got a kill to boot.
Well, that just goes to show how successful Shaiko is with that vigil ability. It doesn't always work that well. Let's be frank. A lot of people, you know, they'll just keep their drone there. They won't be able to get away with it as easily as Shaiko made that look. And now for BDS, being one man up, especially taking out that entry, especially now, you know, a lot of pro players have been talking about Ash being more of a support player. She's got those 2 breaching charges. She's got all of those flashes to cook ADSs, etc. So for Navi, that's actually quite a big loss, especially now that there's less than 60 seconds left. You spoke about teams needing to get in at a minute 30. They're behind time now.
I doubt I'm lights enough for anyone to be playing along with this game, but 1 minute and 4 seconds it took for Navi to start swinging that hammer on the floor. And you know how much I love talking about my benchmarks? Nora, Rengo, and APAC are the slowest team. It always comes down to about 60 seconds left before they start getting the vertical angles. Navi have basically started at exactly the same time. They are down a man, potentially down a second, as, good timing coming out of Kendry to swing on there and hopefully save his teammate. But Playday is here to strike big, and hopefully this should be Joe going down as well. Playday just making sure he's being nice and cautious here, that no one else is going to swing out at the wrong time. And Saints are going to try and recover Joe here. Maybe able to get away with it, as Breeder maybe being a little bit too cautious. But imagine if you push at the perfect time here. He isn't going to, but guess who is? It's Shaiko. A double kill coming through elsewhere. Turns it into a triple in this round. A 4 versus 1 for Blur. And sadly, nothing else to be found here. That's the Shaiko of old that we remember. Starts out on the top floor, gets back down later on, and just destroys the entire enemy team. Great first round out of BDS. And for Navi, the whole thing felt like they were floundering the whole way through.
That initial kill, I think, really knocked them back. It set them back quite a bit as well, because, like we said, you lost your Ash, you lost all of that utility. But for BDS, they were able to have those really confident lines of sights and instant trades. It's probably the big thing to point out. An instant trade from bar over onto the player trying to aggress onto the down player on red. That's important, that you've got players who can crossfire with you, get those instantaneous trades, so you're not putting a numbers disadvantage. You're always evening out the count. It seems like BDS is one of the best teams for that. There's a couple of other teams that really flourish at being able to trade as well. So it's good to see that BDS, even though the analysts did say this game might not technically need them to sweat as hard, they might not need to show too much, well, with BDS, their natural game sense and skills might dictate that even if they don't show too much, they're still a power being.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Reaper for this. I've always shown his videos. I think they're wonderful analytical content if you're someone who wants to really come to understand the more advanced level of Siege that isn't always apparent as you're watching as a casual viewer. He did a really good video looking at BDS versus Vitality and showed 3 rounds where Vitality on paper should have won. Their setup was superior. They denied BDS out of getting into sites. Everything was electrified or denied in some really creative way. BDS just rushed the site and win 3 rounds on gun skill alone. It's unbelievable that they have that kind of capability despite being strategically outplayed. So that's one thing I'm always watching out for here, is teams can look at BDS and go, okay, we know how to beat them. Look at Rogue last season on Oregon when they hard countered BDS and completely shut them down. That was BDS's first loss all season long because the team prepped for them. It almost looked like it was going to be the same against Vitality, but it ended up being 6-6. They aren't undefeatable. They are just arguably the best in Europe when it comes to clicking on heads.
Well, they're not even on attack yet, so they're going to have to click heads here on defense, and they're doing quite well with that. I think it's thrown Navi into a little bit of a whirlpool here because now they've got to collect themselves and try and get as many attacking rounds as possible. I said they're quite a balanced team. I still hold true to that fact given statistically what they've shown here on this map. So I do expect them to get at least a couple of these attacking rounds, but not if Shaiko hits heads every single round as the opening kill.
But Joe, you may have stepped up into EUR, my friend, and think, mate, I'm a guy who can click heads on windows and doors. There is a guy called Shaiko and many other names on this team. Renshiro springs to mind, Playday as well, who will be happy to challenge you for that king of fraggers spot that you might be looking towards. That's the nomad down and out. It's not the most crucial loss. You still have things like the Ash, the Zofia, the frag grenades of the sledge, as well as those all-important Selmas. But either way, it's still such a critical loss to have removed from the team.
We'll always point that out, and well, unfortunately, a mute jammer has gone shooting into everyone's ears, and well, hopefully that gets fixed soon. And if not, well, we'll see exactly what happens. It seems like every game we manage to have someone just absolutely blast their ears away, but that's okay for Navi. They're going to hope that they can get this next pick. No trade for Joe means that they are one man down. We always talk about how that is really dangerous on attack to be a man down. The defenders don't have to risk their lives here. All they have to do is wait. And now that we're getting down to the 60-second mark, this setup here, Go-Yo Shield's still up, everything's still to play here for BDS. They know that someone's playing over in Freezer. Drone's gone, thank goodness, and that means we do get our sound back. There we go. But no one's destroyed the shield yet. Can Doki knock an Ash breaching charge through there? I wonder what's stopping this.
Either way, can't get it through as they're running out of utility pretty fastly and running out of team members' lives, apparently. Playday and Renshiro bringing down 2. One more doned up as well by Shaiko. I was going to say that look, 3k coming in, but it turns out to just be a second as Alem collects Doki to close the round out. And it almost feels... This doesn't feel like a cafe game, right? And I completely appreciate the lineup coming out of BDS is very utility heavy. You had the Evil Eyes, you had the Goyo Shields, you had the Mute Jammers as well. There was a lot stopping Navi moving forward there. This is the kind of thing I imagine and expect to see coming out in Theme Park. And I recall Navi playing against Tempera where they just completely denied Tempera from even getting through Cash when they were trying to push the top floor. Navi aren't even getting through Piano or Cigar at this point. They are being held back. And on the downstairs, didn't even get a sniff at the site. It was all the action happening around Red Stairs with Shaiko with that opening kill. They aren't being allowed to play Siege so far by BDS. And this is looking pretty scary if this carries on for the next 4 rounds.
Next site will be Fireplace and Mining Room. I'm excited to see how they play this because I actually consider this site to be the off site. Out of all of the 4 sites, this is the one that I would generally say is one of the hardest to hold. People you usually see reading, top floor, bottom floor played first. But for the most part, BDS says, you know what, let's give it a snap here, let's give it a go. And we will see Shaiko back on that vigil. I don't think he'll have the same success, but let's just point out very casually here, he has a 5 KD at current. So that's, you know, at least 2 KPR. And furthermore, I do want the viewers to understand that what you're seeing here from BDS, the way that BDS have played these first 2 rounds, they make it look easy. Now, I also want to say that Navi haven't necessarily played this badly. It's just that BDS are so good, they make it look so easy.
It's a couple of small things for Navi at the start of the round, like Doki not being aware of where the vigil might be, and then Joe getting banged off the window by Shaiko. Like, that's going to happen to everyone, mate. Don't feel too bad about it. But it's the small things at the start of the rounds that are slowing Navi down that, again, is stopping them being able to play Siege. Let's see if here they can find the opening kill. They can slow things down a little bit, because both opening kills so far have gone the way of Shaiko.
Renshiro is still trying to set up there, and Saves just slaps that breaching charge of Fireplace window. He's lucky it wasn't a hot breach, because he actually might have been able to take Renshiro off guard. I wonder exactly what Navi's plan of attack is here. For the most part, for those middle floor sites, you expect teams want to be able to get top floor. You expect that they want to get that sledge above and start ripping everything apart. That's what Blur's there for. Look at all those drones from Navi. They're doing their due diligence here, Des. They want to check that everything's okay for people to get in, because you don't want Doki to be slapped off the face of the earth again, so they are trying.
They are trying and knowing what they need to contest as well, and with this wall not fully reinforced, up can get the way in towards bathroom and then start looking in white corridor. But you did have both Alem and Playday holding towards white, and you can even see Rafael tucked in as well. So there are 3 of them holding up here. Alem at a moment's notice can be back on the second floor, but for now he's holding up towards the top side. This is the kind of setup that we saw Navi bring out against G2, so they should know how to break this apart. And Sage drops straight in through Skylight, removes Rafael in the default spot for a Maestro normally, and that does remove the Doc from playing on the top floor. And with that kind of key position now lost with control of Cocktail, forfeited, Alem is going to say, look, no reason for me to stay here anymore. Back down, White Eye, go, and I'll see you guys in 30 seconds or so.
Well, now they have top floor control. They actually really didn't need that cocktail control because, I mean, depending on what plant they try and do, they didn't actually need to open up above it. What they need to open up above is train and mining, of course, if that's what they want to try and go for a B plant. That castle's actually helpful for the attackers. So for the most part, I hope they keep it close. That's why you can see Renshiro prepping it now. He'll pop it with his melee about 11 times, leave it as a one hit, and if they need to come bursting through, that's exactly what they'll do.
If it comes down to it. It's interesting seeing Shaiko being the side player as well on the Vigil. Like, yes, it helps you hold those more aggressive angles out towards the windows where you can't be droned out or yellow pinged easily as no one can see you. Doki's going to find a third kill. That saves with 2, Doki with 1, and we spoke about finding the opening kill, but for Navi, they found all they need on the top floor. Now you've got to deal with the final boss. It's Renshiro, it's Shaiko, 2 of the best players for BDS when it comes down to stats, but look at that. They burst into sight and no one can deal with the angles they're coming in from. That's a flawless round coming out for Navi. What a contrast we saw compared to the previous 2 rounds.
Yeah, really well done there from Navi. They composed themselves. They had a heck of a lot of drones zooming around. Both Blur and Doki shot themselves into top floor. I kind of argued they didn't even need cocktail control, but Save said, yeah, I want it, so I'm going to get it. He's lucky to walk away with his life after a C4 from below once Brunei had rotated down Laundry Hatch. Nonetheless, a very confident round from Navi. And I often say to a lot of people is that the first few rounds, teams are trying to feel each other out. I know they've played each other before, but the big thing is, how do they play on the day? Are they playing aggro? Are they playing passive? Are they trying to go for picks? Are they playing really vertically? How do we need to judge up, square up our opponent? I think Navi worked it out. They decided drones were the answer, speed a little bit alongside those drones, and it really helped them.
And also be mindful of a potentially roaming Shaiko. That was another big one too. The 3 of them playing on the upstairs, I think they knew who was playing around Cocktail anyway, so it wasn't like it was the biggest worry for them. What I will give to BDS is now in every single round, by the looks of it, they have brought along a Mozzie or a Mute. Consistently, every single time one of them has been brought along. So clearly, mixing that with the Vigil, there is a big focus on denying those drones coming out of Navi and using that advantage of the lack of intel to then capitalize, find the opening kill, stick a thorn in their side mid-round, whatever it might be to disrupt Navi a little bit, make them uncomfortable, and then look to close the round out off the back of that. In the last round, that couldn't succeed as they were playing a little bit more static with the Mutes, and clearly there's no real big worries on the side of Navi. They managed to burst their way through Bathroom, even though there was a Mute jammer down, I believe, just on the white corridor doorway.
Well, this is interesting here. There's not going to be a VIP extension. There's not going to be a bakery extension. They're just going to go, let's play upstairs because we know Blur has been trying to rip the floor apart. If we meet them where they want to enter, then maybe we'll have really good success. That's why you can see a lot of them upstairs. They want to challenge this head on. And Alems is even making prep verticals for himself so he can look down on anyone who comes to site. Was there a call that they're pushing straight onto site? There is. Okay, good call. Good recognizers to Navi trying not to go clear those roamers. This might be a fatal mistake for Navi, however, because guess what? Alems is setting up more verticals above. Oh no, if you don't clear this, boys, there's going to be big trouble.
It'll be hard when you've got that smoke holding above, and it's not really the operator you think of playing above sometimes. You think of someone else who, obviously, admittedly, with the help of the smoke from Reload to open the holes up, will be looking to contest. But it's all about the angles that he can hold here. Deny them on the entry point, and this is a cheeky drop as well. If he can just hold that, literally half a second earlier, could have found himself a kill. Look. He will catch him. He will catch him. There we go.
That
Down he goes. It's Doki. Goodbye.
That's dirty. I mean, you expect Shaiko out of all people. See? Wow. I agree, Doki. That was a wow.
He's like, man, that is commitment to the cause to rotate upstairs, drop through fireplace to then get a kill. Fair play.
I said it might have been a real critical misdecision here from Navi to just go straight to site. They knew there were a lot of people roaming, so I think what they wanted to do was hit site really quickly and force them to rotate down. The trouble is, there's verticals above. You've got to worry about the people rotating down brown, down white. There's not enough people. I wonder how Alems got lit. Might have been from the vertical there, and here goes the plant. Can they get this down? Surely this goes down.
Surely, unless there's a C4 or something else that comes flying through, they might try and pokeball him here to deny it, but I think they're not going to bother. They won't have enough time. There he goes now. Finally, he goes down. Shaiko from the cross angle, saves inside a coat, will spray down as Shaiko has been put on the ground. Bride and Alem, 2 of the support site players that we know can do so much for them, need to step up here and go big. Admittedly, Alem on the smoke is one you don't really think about. Either way, it's the spot they're in. Down he goes. Blur finds his second. Saves, converting with a couple more towards the end after the one that was down. Shaiko is finished off. A good round from Navi, and I did clock, actually. Kendry moved over to playing the Maverick rather than being on the Ace like he was previously. And I think part of that was to make sure they could definitely get these walls open, given that BDS keep on bringing this Kaid along.
With Thatcher banned, it's the only real way you can deal with it if you don't take vertical control. You must have the Maverick in hand. You must have an option to be able to get those walls open. You can't grenade anywhere to be able to get them unless you go above. So that's something that was a real good adaptation from Navi. Not taking above and Alem's not being able to... I think that was a bit of a timing thing too, because Alem's had made verticals. That's why he was so lit. And he didn't see Kendry run all the way past the vertical and plant mid-grill. That was we call Kendra a really smart support player. That was a really smart decision. The game sense to go, if I go beyond the vertical, I might be safe to plan here because the Lems won't be able to see me. He's also above, so his smokes can't impact me. And the only thing that probably could have stopped the play was if Brede had have tossed his C4 over the shield from double window and then denied it that way, but he didn't. I don't know what happened, but it just didn't happen.
He's going to get sprayed down a little bit, enough to take some chip damage, but not enough to finish him off. So it was smart play. I thought we would see the second impact come out, or potentially even a C4 of some variety. I think, though, with the non-members that were left, there was just no chance. And this is that wonderful angle from Shaiko again. Can't wait to see that getting employed in my ranked games. Woo!
Woo! Oh, I'm not looking forward to it, but what I am looking forward to is BDS here claiming either a win on the first half or Navi turning around and going, yep, we could do this. We are going to take the win here against BDS. Because once you move on to the defense, things look a little bit smoother. That's how you sort of predict these kind of maps, especially maps as big as Cafe. You generally turn around and go, yeah, for the most part, we should be A-okay to get a little bit more defensive rounds than our attacking rounds. And Doki's already lit up from the get-go. I can only imagine that was Shaiko from the window, because who else could it be?
I'll give it to you, Jess. Good segue. 6 out of 10 on that rating, by the way. I don't know if too many EU viewers will be aware of this minigame we play. We're trying to get Jess really good at segues. So what we're doing every single time she does one is we rate it out of 10. Play it with me. I want to see your ratings in chat as well. I want to know what you guys think and see if we agree. Either way, start of this round, as you mentioned, Doki was a little bit little. Shaiko does it again. On to Joe. Again. Same as on the last time on this site. He banged Joe off the window, off towards the west. About the 210 mark. It's happened again here. Almost identical timing.
You know what Navi should do? Every time they hear the carbine, they just go to a different angle. Like, the carbine shot at you at white window? Yeah, no, rappel up on the roof, we give up. So, smart play there from whoever was rappelling on white, because, yeah, you stood no chance there for whatever reason.
You know, I really like how BDS have taken this more aggressive stance when they're on the defense on this side, because look again at all the utility they've got. The Goyo, the Maestro, the Mew, and the Malusi, as well as the ADSs to burn through. That is a lot of utility. So imagine here, if you catch Doki or you catch saves. I mean, Joe, again, isn't the best one to catch in this situation, but still useful. It's still a critical team member when there's only 5 of you on side. But think about how much utility they now have to work their way through as those numbers keep on dwindling. It's just starving Navi out, and I think that's why we saw them struggle so much last time round on this site.
No grenades left, at least in Blur's hands, so he's not going to be able to do anything. Shaiko decides to do a little jiggle peek to see if anyone's there, but Blur's right behind the couch. No vision optional there, and oh, the plant does go down. Blur gets a really important kill there. Now the cover can come out, surely.
And the rip pet comes up as well, as Kendry once again has completed his second plant of the game. Got away with it, and that's inside a bar. They now have the vertical control up onto Skylight. This is panic stations for the side of BDS. I don't see a way in which they manage to drag this one back unless they get a miracle kill onto the player playing up inside of the Skylight. Blur finds a second inside of storage. Will finally get tricked back. No, I lied. Found one inside of storage, but then also killed another inside of storage. Kendry gets from Sheer at the bitter end of things, and Navi once again, once they get into this post plant, look phenomenal. Taking 3 rounds in a row, Jess, against BDS.
I know, I'm just trying to collect myself here to sort of, I guess, analyze exactly what's happened here on their attacking half. Because for me, now that they're going on to the last round, this is their last chance to prove that they are the Cafe team that we know they can be. My big point here is that every round that they've really focused on the objective has seemed far more confident. Every time they've sort of tried to get Kendra in for a plant, it has looked either they've won it or it's looked quite confident. My big takeaway from that, and I spoke about this last time Navi played, was when they won Tokoname finals, Pro League finals in Japan. They had the most plants in the entire league by far. That entire series of the entire championship, they had the most plants, and it was unbelievable. I can't remember the number of plants they had down, but it was heaps. And that's what I put down to them winning Tokoname Finals, was the fact that they were hyper objective based, unlike other teams who were too frag heavy. And so this is showing here today that their success with objective-based attacks are really critical for their wins.
But I'll give a nod to saves as well, mind you. A player that I think historically was kind of always in the background. He wasn't really in the forefront ahead of like Citizen and Doki. He wasn't in this fragging role. And when Navi had all this drama towards the back end of late last year and early this year, he moved into that more fragging role and put on an alright show. In this game, he's putting on a big show. He's even stacking up against the likes of Shaiko when it comes to the numbers that he's putting on the board, which is not an easy feat to do, but it's definitely dragging his team over the finish line, which is great to see. And notice how a good number of the kills come around when in the execute or in the dying stages of a round. These are high impact kills. They aren't coming down to just collecting the opening kill and then dying. They are genuinely impactful kills.
Speaking of impactful kills, Shaiko's hoping the last round of defense. There you go. I love the Jaws music added in there, but not too good that we get DMCA'd, but just good enough, you know, that we can get away with it. Who is he going to engage with first? Exactly. Joe is just outside the window across from him on the west, so he could find his first victim there, but it won't be. It'd be Rafal this time to get saves. You just spoke about the man. You just cursed him to his death, and he won't play any more of this round.
Sorry, saves. I love how back and forth it's been in this, because Shaiko's got the opening kill on Doki and Joe in 2 rounds for each player so far, so 4 opening kills. The other rounds 3 and 6, saves and Rafal have traded over who's got the opening kill. It's been really interesting seeing the patterns kind of form. It's like a pretty picture in my spreadsheet. I love it.
The back and forths, that's what you want to see from two teams that kind of look like they're pretty evenly matched. Navi being in front, that's something that we absolutely have to give them props to. A lot of teams would not have thought the scoreline, at least in the first half, would have gone this way, or in any half would have gone this way. So, now the crouch walk in. Does this net them what they need? No, it won't, because guess what? There's still going to be that Maestro cam, that evil eye up, and saves is dead, so we can't displace of it. So now they need the grenades for it.
They need the grenades, or they need Doki to do some work with this one, but it's going to be everything being thrown in there. All the flashes go in. Finally, a frag grenade goes out, but it doesn't connect onto it. It fell too short. Did get the shield, mind you, so maybe they weren't strictly aiming for that, and I think they've now got rid of it. And with the wall being opened up by the Salma, Kendrew strikes in, brings down Rensure. Let's not forget, Jess, this is not a top floor site, though. We are down inside of reading. A lot of time and a lot of utility is going into this top floor. It's like you and I always say, this is why it's great for teams to get used to defending reading and fireplace, because you can burn so much time and utility on the top floor that it all comes down to a bit of a panic when that execute comes in.
If this C4 connects, this could be huge. There are a couple of people running in unison above. So if they could just slip one of those C4s up and at least catch one of them, this would be a huge blow to Navi, who actually won't have enough people to be able to hold those plant. Do they have any smokes left? Can I get an extended view there of the smoke? None left. There you go. So Kendrew, if he does go for the defuse, will actually stay alive, but they pass it off to Joe, who has more HP. Smart move, boys. Here we go.
You definitely can't put a 1 HP player in the plant spot. He needs to be holding on up above. And then with the shotgun out, we'll find one. Shaiko collects Joe as well. The player we just spoke about, ironically, a second ago being at full HP. Very quickly gone to 0. Great timing from Shaiko to catch Kendrew on the drop. Blur is all by himself. He hasn't played too badly himself, but even he can't pull off a 1 versus 4 with 4 seconds still on the clock. That'll bring things up to 3 apiece in this first half. A good performance by both sides. Very impressed by Navi on the attack, and hopefully that gives them enough here to be able to take some points away from BDS.
Moving on to the second half now. I'm very impressed from what I'm seeing from Navi, especially when you go into the second half, all things level. It's not something that a lot of teams get the pleasure of doing against BDS, because for the most part, they're always on the back foot trying to scratch back, trying to get somewhere against BDS. And for now, well, the attacking half of Navi has looked pretty damn good. And if you're BDS, you're a little bit worried because, I mean, if we look, and again, I hate to harp on the stats here, but if you're looking over at BDS's history, for the most part, they've been pretty defender-sided as a team as a whole. I do look at some of their stats, and I'm not going to put a whole lot of,
Wait,
I guess,
what?
no. Oh. You know, someone said on Twitter the other day, I'm going to stop myself there. Let's bring ourselves over to this point of frost. Someone said on Twitter the other day, our team has a 100% win rate every time we've played Frost. Now, whether it was a CL team or a Tier 1 team, I can't for the life of me remember who said this, but they said every time we played it might even have been Gamma Gaming who said it. And if that's the case, well, I mean, and stats came out to show that high-ranked players between Plat 2 and Champion are much more likely to step in a Frost trap than anyone between Silver and Gold.
You're just so used to not seeing the operator get picked up, and also you got to consider as well that the placement of the frost mats is going to be a little bit smarter at the higher level than, hey, there's that really obvious window that everyone jumps through and drones out. Let's put a frost mat down there. So I appreciate it. You can make a big impact with it. We did see one go down from him outside the double window, down outside of prep as you're coming towards the kitchen. Clearly hopeful that late round someone is going to come sprinting through and try and make an impact from that position, and we'll dive straight into it. I think we'd all love to see this happen. We would love to see it come down to that, because I'm pretty sure in Challenger League Season 11, I want to say it was... No, it wasn't Challenger League. It was in the Nordics, actually. I'm a liar. It was on Chaos's side. It was one of the players, I want to say it was Vito, walked straight into a frostmat on Villa against one of the teams, and the chat went wild. It was hilarious.
Well, we'll see if we get any of that hilarity here on round number 7. A Maverick on the side of BDS, they've identified that what they used against Navi might also be used against them, but if you look at the defending lineup, there is no wall denial to be seen whatsoever. Interesting, when you have a Thatcher ban, that you don't decide to also have a wall denial. Most of the time, that's because you're going to do a bakery extended hold, so you don't need it, but maybe they've just forgone the wall denial because they knew a Maverick would be in play.
You think about how often you'll see a Kai ban follow through on the back of a Thatcher ban. It's not as much as you see a Thatcher, but it's still quite a lot. So even I was surprised when I saw it slip through. We did see them BDS make use of it for the vast majority of the first half to some effect. I'd still say the fact that Navi got 3 rounds was pretty impressive given what they came up against, but here we find ourselves with a Frost. So this game is, we're entering the realm of craziness right now, and guess what? It's going to be Doki going down. Actually, Shaiko does at the same time, trying to finish him off, but can't quite connect the damage, it seems. Maybe he's already got himself a bit too far back. And look at this, Blur lurking outside. Can he get around and find one here? Yes, he can. That's the kind of jump out we love to see. Taking some lessons from Joe, I see, and that's Lem going down. They will be able to get Doki back up. That's 2 kills, and Shaiko is still down on the ground, a bit far for that one, mate. He's just to your left. Just pop him in the head. There we go, Doki. He knows where he is. Easy peasy. 4 versus 2 for Navi.
Oh, what a change of events here for Navi. They're going to walk away ahead here in the second half. I don't think Bride, even though he has been a clutch master before, can do it. Have I cursed it the opposite way, though? He'll get a double kill, both headshots as well. He's got 40 seconds to be able to do this, so if the rest of the Navi players peak unnecessarily, this could be bad. Doki's in a great position to challenge this as well here, Des, and he misses it.
Bride can avoid him, I think. Obviously, Bride doesn't know that he's up there, but if he looks back in and Bride steps out here, he could get himself tagged down. Not only get seen by Doki, they know, or he knows that at the very least he's around the front door. The Banshee goes off. That's all the visual indication they need. The question is, where is he? Bride's got to make a move right now. Tries to go for the swing round onto front desk. Knows that there's one on the stairs. I think hears him. Knows one's inside here. Gets the one. It's a triple kill. But I think already the Doki has legged it. He wants no part of this. He's going all the way up red stairs. The little man's done for today. Doesn't want to take a final fight against the big bad bully that is Bride. Navi take round number 7 and pull themselves into the lead. Not something I thought I'd be saying today, given the matchup, if I'm completely honest.
Oh, cat and mouse, cat and mouse. That's exactly what that end of that round looked like there. Smart play from Doki. Even though he did miss, he actually was right in holding that pixel angle, I think, on that red stairs there over towards double door. I think holding an open wide angle gave Bride a little bit too much to be able to play against a really low HP Jaeger. So well done to Doki. Smart play there, and for the most part the 6 pick off of the Frost is a smart play as well, because most of the BDS players will be considering where, if they vault anything, if they run in anywhere, if there's a shield, that there might be a Frost map behind it. So, you know, good to see here from Navi. They're playing up the 6 pick, they're trying to play those mind games, and they'll have a go-yo in play as well.
Okay, let's see if they can pull this off. BDS once again coming out with the Mav. Spoke about it a little bit earlier on. Seeing it also, the benefit you get, of course, being 4 frags. Lots of ability to get kills from above when you're playing on the lower sites, or even here to clear out those the gadgets at distance. Isn't a massive heavy focus, I guess, on the utility piece for Navi. And when I'm saying utility here, I'm looking at things like the Melusi being brought along as well. They've foregone the difficulty the Banshees bring along, and instead have gone towards playing ye old Muta Mozzie way before Wamai and Jaeger was a thing. So definitely a focus again on the intel denial against BDS. The same sort of thing that we saw BDS on point against them, only BDS never committed to using both at the same time.
Exactly right. A very, very similar setup here from Navi on their top floor. This is almost the same that BDS set up, but you've got to remember that's kind of the meta way of holding top floor now. You put a couple of lines aside from Freezer, from Bathroom, you got the Shield and Pixel, a couple of ADSs to assist with it. Oh, that was an early C4. No one collected from it because the Sledge, well, if you do play Sledge, you're always aware that that can happen to you, that there might be a C4 prepped on the hatch. So Renshiro played that really well there. We didn't miss it, but I did hear it go off, so I was aware of the timing and could be pretty sure that Renshiro probably popped it and ran pretty quick. But yeah, that's one C4 down. How many more do we have left? Do we have Doki and Blur with one? We do. 2 left. Still a lot of utility to play with. Now, can they get Pixel without getting popped from saves from Red?
It's always about these cheeky roamers and the damage they can do, or, you know, the guy that's just standing at the door waiting to greet you into the building with a shotgun and saying, sorry, not allowed today at Navi members only. And that's Playday down with those Selmas as well, one to think about. And yes, there aren't too many walls you've got to worry about outside of the ones in Piano. Now they're going to have to rely entirely on that Maverick, and that itself carries the risk of you having to get up very, very close to those walls to start getting them open. You are always putting yourself at risk in that situation, so one of the things for BDS to be mindful of.
Some really good picks here from a few of the Navi players. Even though they might not have a lot of frags, a lot of those frags have been impact frags, and that's important for Navi because if you're slowly dwindling away the BDS players, even if it's early on in the round, that's a big hit to their attacking strategies. And eventually that Go-Go Shield will be popped in a C4. Also pops below Rafale, but another missed C4. So only one left on the lineup of Navi. And now BDS are hoping that this pinch effect that they're hoping to get from a Lems here will get Doki out, but no one's holding the angle of Piano. So that's a free rotate out for Doki. It's almost like this entire top floor is their playground now.
Well, they definitely aren't giving up too much ground early on, and I like the aggression they're bringing against the other side. Blur, even again, speaking of aggression, tries to make something happen with a run out on the Mozzie, but gets himself clapped back by the Claymore. Unfortunate, he shall no longer partake in this round. 4 versus 4, 40 seconds to go. That's a lot of 4s, chat, if you get what I'm saying. But let's see if BDS can step up and make this happen. You can see they're now putting some work into the bathroom window at the same time. So they're looking to contest the right sort of places. It's just a timing game here. I'm worried about the clock, and I'm very worried about Sage creeping up behind them on red stairs. Does get caught up by a flank drone, so he's going to back away like any trusty roamer should do.
They do not have enough time for this. They're going to have to collapse on side Vitality style, and Joe's there with the Elder. I can't do the sound, but you could do it later for me. And it looks like they're just going to have to zoom on in. Alemzo, he's trying to reload, he's trying to challenge, he's trying to create a Bride situation here for the clutch, but no way, Jose. They shut him down. Navi squarely in the lead right at the moment. And how does that Elder go, Des? Yeah, I can't do it, and you do it so perfectly.
What did you say last week when you tried it? You were like, it goes brrr, and I was like, is that really how a gun sounds? That's how a gun sounds when it jams and starts farting.
I can't do it. I don't know why. My apologies. I'll leave that all to you.
I'll try and teach you when we're in Paris. It's not really something you can teach, but we'll try, because it will make for hilarious Twitter content trying to see you do it.
You know what? I'm envisioning that by the time I get to Paris and everyone sees us in the studio and all those types of things, that it's just going to slowly divulge into me getting bullied every week more and more. And I'm just going to have to be the punching bag for everyone in Paris, which is fine by me. I'm built like a brick. But, you know, it's you got to come to the gym with me.
Last time I went to Alex at SI.
I was going to say, last time I went to the gym, I was pressing more than Alex. Mind you, he had a shoulder problem, but you know, that's my ego drive for the day.
Well, when you're not being helped out much in the height department, Jess, sometimes you'll take the whole weightlifting thing as well. Let's get into it. I'm actually looking forward to not being bullied for being the small person, because you'll be the smallest, and that'll be the best part. But speaking of small things in this case, Doki and the boys are stepping up big in this game. 5-3. You've got to drop them in there. That's how you do a segue. 5-3 in this game ahead of BDS. No one could have ever predicted it would come down to this. One more round and they guarantee at least a point against BDS. And we spoke around how Navi have now been sucked into this relegation scrap. They are that close to being dragged towards this ninth place fight. Even a single point against BDS is more than pretty much every team has achieved all season long, and what an outcome that would be.
I really, really enjoy seeing the Frost. Because there's a lot of people, especially in Tier 1, who have just absolutely crapped all over a lot of these operators that aren't part of the meta and gone, they're useless. But if a team can find a good use for them, whether it's map dependent, whether it's strat dependent, whether it's a shield dependent, utility dependent, then so be it. I love to see it. That's what we want. And now the BDS are on the back foot here. And when I say the back foot, 2 whole rounds behind in a deficit here. This is Navi's game to take. Don't choke it here, boys. You've done really well so far. One more round and you secure yourself at least 1 point. And while with shots like that, you might secure yourself 3.
I mean, that was confusing because BDS were playing Micro Machines for the first few seconds there, charging inside of the building through that hatch, and still had no idea that Blur was playing on stage, and he gets a free kill for it. And now Shaiko, having been the one to trade that kill back onto Blur, gets taken out by Doki. It's almost like there's a few corners that BDS are cutting here in part of their panic, because if they got a couple of drones inside Piano, I think they would have seen where Blur was and known that trying to hot drop in like that was not the play. And again, where are the drones? You must know they are sat inside the bar. That's 2 kills this round. We can put down to Navi, denying information away and capitalizing on it against BDS. Really well played.
2 things I want to point out here as I say goodnight to Saves and he drops to his grave. I want to say, 1, the C1 he did have to his disposal is one of the most powerful defending weapons there is outside of shotguns, of course, the TCSG, etc. It's one of the most powerful automatics. So that's a really good weapon to have in hand. You've got a shield as well, so it's not the worst thing to have in hand. And I was looking over at my stats here, and guess what? Shaiko has the top KPR in the world. In any region, 1.08. So Shaiko, his hit numbers this game, whether they win or lose, he'll probably still stay number 1.
Oh, Joe sets out and goes, I'm challenging for that top spot, baby. Brings down 11. And guess what? There's only 1 left. His name is Rafal against 3 members of Navi. And this is actually now even starting to look like they can go on and win the whole thing. Rafal does manage to get the kill, but he's down to 25 HP. That is very little HP and a lot of enemy to go through. 2 left in Doki and Kendrew before Navi sit at match point and look like they could even take away the full 3 points from the French lineup.
Imagine being the first team to do it too. After your roster changes, after your issues, after everything, you can turn around and say, we're the ones that brought the Giants down.
15 seconds remaining.
It's one hell of an accolade to hold to your name. Oh, Kendra, you little sweat. But guess what? He's already going for a plant, mate. You're not going to have a chance to be too sweaty today, but time to flick round and find the head. Make him sweat a little bit here as they've hit the 5 second left on the clock. He's got to try and get a couple of kills. Knows he's not going to have a chance to get them. This is easy as pie, and away they go. Navi take round number 9. It's 6-3. BDS are about to be handed their first defeat of the season. It comes a little bit later than last when they lost to Rogue, but a defeat is a defeat, and 3 points for Navi. You know what the terrifying thing is, I think? With how someone mentioned this to me in DMs, I'm pretty sure if Navi win this game, Tempera win theirs, and Chaos lose their game, Chaos are then relegated. They can't catch up. That's it. They're done. They are finished in 10th. They are also relegated down.
Okay, so Navi wins this one. Tempera wins their one. Chaos lose their one. Done. That's it. It's all decided today.
Yeah.
Wow.
If Chaos lose and if Tempera win. Which, given their matchups, doesn't seem like such an impossibility. Rogue aren't playing too well right now. Tempera could beat them. Chaos are against G2, who last week massively hit form. They might lose there. It's coming down to it, and we're still got. This is still only there's still 3 play days to go if you include all of today still to play. And I know we've had a couple of games already. Call it 2.5 play days if you want at this point. That's still a terrifying prospect.
A lot of times we don't give enough hype to teams that have really improved. And I'm talking about like a really short-term improvement of which Navi has been able to make. You come in, you beat BDS, and I don't care what anyone throws out on the board here. BDS is saving strats. BDS are putting their all in it. BDS, no. BDS are getting absolutely walked all over here by Navi. That is the truth. That is what we will walk away today saying. And anyone who says any different, regardless of this goes to a draw or it goes to a win, Navi showed to me here today that those roster changes they made weren't a detriment to their team. They weren't relying on aggression. They put Joe on support for Dan. I was going to go bad words there and I had to cap myself on Dan there. And that's where I'm going to end it. But I really wanted to strongly advocate here for Navi. Proud of them. They've done a lot of work to get to this point. This is really cool.
I love seeing them on Cafe. It's one of my favorite maps to watch them on as well, given again what we saw them achieve last season. It's just always a delight. Them and Secret, I think, are my 2 favorite teams to watch on this map, bar none. Like, they are just really enjoyable, seeing how they play it, the way they try to hold the other team when they're on the attack. It's great. And we're seeing coming out of Navi almost exactly an identical setup for what we saw coming out of BDS. Bring along the Mozzie or the Mute and the Vigil along on one of your fraggers. And guess what? It's Kendry stepping up on the Melusi to find the opening kill onto a Lem. It almost feels like what we saw happening in the first half, where BDS were the ones trying to get really aggressive against Navi and disrupt them and slow their round down like we saw back in round number 1. The exact same is happening on the opposite here, only Navi are twice as efficient at doing it.
Navi's been throwing the Jaeger around a couple of their players as well. Also, Kendra is on the Melusi, of which Blur usually plays. So this is just all over the shop here. Navi want to cap this off, and they want to cap it off now. A lot of firepower here. Joe being one of the big hitters for Navi. Elder in hand, and of course, he usually hits really good shots with this, but it'll be punished back by Shaiko. And now Shaiko, he knows 3 rounds in a row is the play for him. That's what he needs to get his team back in for 1 measly point. Won't mean much for them, Des, but it will mean a lot for confidence.
And it also won't mean much for the drones they haven't got left alive here. There's only 2 on side for the BDS here coming into the final minute and a half. That is not a lot of information. It's going to require a lot of clicking our heads. And like I said, BDS are the team that can do that. But against Navi, they have been challenged time and time again. 3 members holding out towards Bakery, and Shaiko still inside a coat check here. Gives them that lovely cross angle into sight. Oh, Doki. Oh, Doki, are you going to be the little rat for your team? Do you know one's in small Bakery? I'm not so sure he does, but surely he knows that one is down to his left. I think he does, but they also get the idea themselves. No doubt those white bars are coming up on a couple of drones that are in the area, and they know that he's lurking and trying to cause some trouble.
BDS look like they've stalled out. I've not seen a BDS so stalled out in the past stage as I'm seeing them right here on Cafe. This is match point. Navi are making it so difficult for them. Do they get onto site? Do they show that BDS is the team that's number 1? Yes, they do.
Mayhem's find the kills as well. Shaiko springing out and finding one. Doki will trade back as he comes down red stairs. Oh my god, he's found 2 for himself. Is it the time? The player that had the 2nd worst rating for Navi in their last stage finds a triple. Doki, 1 more to go and a defuse to come through. And you're against Playday, the clutch god of last season. One of the best players we saw in the early stages of stage 1 for BDS. Tries to go for the fight, but Playday says, haha, remember those days? I definitely haven't forgot them either. BDS take a round, but it's still match point to Navi.
My arms have goosebumps all over them after the way that Doki tried to bring that back from nothing. That was an exciting round. Not only was it exciting from the entry that Rafale made there on the Maverick, but you've also got to put it down to the fact that they got the player down. Doki tried an amazing retake there. Great effort from both teams. BDS narrowly bringing themselves back into the mix here. 2 more rounds and we'll see this as a draw. 1 more round for Navi and a win and 3 points. And you said it before, this could really skew the standings, the leaderboards as we're going near relegation period. Every single team below the top 5 has to be scared. Even below the top 4, I should say, has to be terrified as to how not only their games go, but games like this go as well.
But of seeing how teams can get sucked back into this scrap so fast. If Navi win here, they jump ahead of Team Secret and take 5th place.
Really?
Currently here, we've got Vitality sat in 4th place with 21 points, Secret in 5th with 20 points, Empire and Rogue sat in 6th and 7th with 19 points, and Navi currently sat on 17 with Tempera just below on 16. Chaos are on 12 if you're curious. That's why if Tempera and Navi win today, Chaos simply cannot catch up if they lose this game because they can get a max of 6 points. And guess what? 18 points, which is 12 plus 6, is less than the 19 that Tempera would have. They would be done for. It's crazy. Honestly, looking at the fight over 4th place down to like 8th, even 9th, 4th to 9th, I genuinely can't call which team is going to finish where given how these games keep on proceeding. It's crazy.
We love exciting games. We had one in EUCL on Friday, and now we get yet another here between Navi and BDS. We had Giant Slayers in EUCL. We're getting Giant Slayers here today. You love to see it. We are blessed to be able to watch these kind of games and this kind of growth of players, whether it's Tier 1, Tier 2, or beyond. And now Blur, he's back on the Melusi, and roles have, bottomed out as we expected to. Kendra back on the support, Joe also back on support. Saves on the Jaeger and giving Doki the opportunity to go back onto the Goyo. So things for Navi now have calmed down a little bit. They're not sort of swapping things around. Not musical chairs, musical roles or operators at the moment. This is good.
I love how for the longest time we saw the issue with Navi when they first picked up Joe was that he would be at every window and doorway early in a round trying to cause trouble and being picked off and losing them a crucial member quite early. So they said here, take this really slow operator with an even bigger gun. Here's a big shiny toy to distract you from the fact that you're now playing the support role and sit and play under Maestro. He isn't passive. He doesn't sit back and sit on cams all day long. I know that he is now, and it's quite ironic I'm saying that, but he is the kind of player who will step up and clutch when his team needs him to. He reminds me a lot of Aces on Rogue, when Aces on maps like Oregon likes to play the Maestro. Both of them are absolute frag gods, and you can rely on them in the mid-round if things start going pear-shaped to step up and find a couple of kills, and it's a wonderful change for him and a playstyle that really, really suits him.
Halfway through the round now, and they finally got rid of that Goyo shield that was hosting Doki in Pixel. And that's good. I think BDS understand exactly what is needed to be able to get rid of the utility. But beyond sort of the beginning of the round, BDS start to stall out. It's like Navi are really putting a pin in their side and saying, you can't come any further. And they're also not giving them the peaks that I think BDS usually thrive off of. That's probably the biggest point here that I can see, is that Navi are playing a little bit more passive in the way that they peak. They're waiting for BDS to get closer. And as a result, if you don't do Rafale-like plays, you're going to lose out.
Wonder what they were looking to go for then through the Scarlet, but it was just clearing out a little bit of utility. And you were right, you can see how Navi had holed themselves up inside of storage, and that's what BDS was so determined to clear. Otherwise, they sit behind the shields inside of storage, they start popping you as you walk inside the piano. It makes piano untakeable, you can't get inside the building. You've got to make sure those shields are gone first and foremost before you can look at doing anything else.
Shaco's got to hit this shot, or the Maestro doesn't need to peek. It is Joe, so I do expect him to swing on around and have a little firefight if he wants. Those extra 7, 8 bullets are very important, because guess what? You got to hit the head of Rafale. Can you hit the head of Shaiko as well? Shaiko will swing in, and guess what? Joe's just the better player here. But the trades are coming in, Des. The plant will go down. C4 rains up from Doki. That's probably what will give them the round here, because it's all up to Bride. 4 seconds left, not enough time.
Wow.
This is it. This is Navi's game, giant slayers that they are. They will take down BDS in the first loss of stage 2 here for BDS. Navi will be the ones.
That was an incredible map by Navi, and for the longest time, BDS have always been hyped up as a big cafe team. Not strictly their favourite map, but they play very well on it. I remember watching them against Fours back at the start of the year and thinking they look a little bit shaky on attack. And even here today, Navi have really rattled the cage that contains BDS and gone, boys, guess what? This ain't going to be a flawless stage for you. We've got a few words to say about that. And with that, I think Navi now propel themselves to safety. That is a massive 3 points for them in what was going to be a run of games that I thought they could really, really struggle in. Fair play, boys. The UK's proud.
Well, UK Massive, as Des would say, but I'm sure we can throw it over to the desk where I'm sure there's more UK Massive fans to be able to talk us through what just went on.
Jess, can you not enable him? Thank you very much. Can we just not